Welcome back to the Undieted Podcast with your hosts, Melissa
and Rebecca.
We are so happy to be back. We are on episode 9. We have come so far, and today we are discussing the science of sustainability, why quick fixes fail, and why true change does take time.
Yes, and that's the one thing that people find hard to accept.
Very much so. Last episode, we talked about body image and self-compassion because most of us are very guilty of comparing ourselves to other people. And you have to remember that your journey is unique to you, and what works for one person may not work for you. And also to note that you may be comparing your chapter 1 or 2 to someone's chapter 14. You really have no idea how far they've come and what they have done. So really try to focus on yourself, have self-compassion.
And I think that's where self-compassion will be a benefit for this episode. So I encourage people to think of, like what would they say to a good friend or a family member. And that is the first way we can try to tap into self-compassion.
Very much so. And with Easter around the corner, we are also going to touch on some tips and how to manage that holiday season and the food surrounding it, etc. Especially, if you come from a culture, food is a very big part of Easter dinners, right?
Yeah, and it's a way that people get together, like food and culture go hand in hand.
Yeah. And if you would like to learn how to portion control without calorie counting, I invite you to go to the link in the description and you will be directed to a free masterclass that I recorded where I really deep dive into how to build these balanced plates, and they work anywhere. They work at Easter dinner, they work at a restaurant, they work when you go over to someone's house, and that's what it's really about. Not restricting yourself, having all the foods that you love in moderation and balance. All right, so we'll jump into our first topic, which is going to be what exactly is a quick fix?
Yes, which is often advertised in every diet I have seen.
And they are highly attractive because they promise quick results with little effort and little time. It actually is a lot of effort because they are highly restrictive. So you are cutting out a lot of stuff that you love. You are going from one extreme to the next. So quick fixes can be anything that are like the juice cleanse. I've seen people do that kind of stuff because they feel it's for health. There's actually a fitness influencer that I follow on Instagram where she posted, her name is Train with Shay. She just posted, she lives here in Florida and she was flying back home because her father was hospitalized for following a juice cleanse. Even though it was a juice cleanse, he was so severely dehydrated, malnourished. He's an older man in his, I would assume 60s, maybe 70s, early 70s. I don't really know. I don't know her outside of Instagram, but she did post that, and it was like where she is begging her audience, stop doing these quick fixes. It is never worth your health.
Yeah. And that, like, a lot of people tend to bring up juice cleanses that, don't have a lot of science behind them either.
Right. And I'm sure with what you do, Rebecca, you see a lot of people in therapy that are severely impacted by quick fixes, quick results, diets, because what happens is you never get off this loop, right? You try this quick fix, it fails, you feel like you failed, then you search the internet for another quick fix, and they are often inexpensive. Sometimes it can be expensive to join these cleanses, but you are in a place where you don't have self-compassion. So please go back to our old episode, our previous episode, to listen about what we talked about there. It is very important to have self-compassion, accept yourself where you are.
Yes.
And start making small changes. So juice cleanses, 10-day detoxes, extreme restrictions before events. I saw this all winter long with everyone with their beach vacations where they were starving themselves before the beach vacation, which
Unfortunately, weddings as well, people who are about to get married, they tend to do that, and that's not right, you know.
No.
The priest
And
at our church even told us the story about when the bride, she fainted midway in the ceremony because she was restricting before days before the wedding, and that is in itself not good, right? You
no,
know.
and you want to look back at your wedding photos and see yourself. You don't want to see this unattainable, unhappy person, even though it's your wedding day, and think, "Oh, I'll never be that thin again." You know, I had a personal friend who went on an extreme diet for 6 weeks leading up to her wedding. She did lose weight. She was looking thin, but it all came back and she struggled with her weight for several years after her wedding.
You know,
So
and I think that's where people who get disturbed by the quick fix not being a fix come to see me in therapy and go, is there something else I'm missing, like mental health wise? And then when we get down to it, we find several reasons why someone may be attracted to these quick fixes and, other reasons why someone might be struggling with overeating or restriction or etc. Right? But I've also had clients that like have quit therapy because they would rather do the quick fix. But then I see them several months later when they say the quick fix did not work. So it's very
well,
sad.
thank you for bringing that up because what most people don't understand is it's more than food. It's
Yes.
more than exercise. You have to deal with the underlying issue. I have an example. There is someone that I know of that is taking Ozempic. It's been 2 years, maybe lost something like 80 pounds. And the doctor is trying to taper her off. And that's what they do because you can't always stay on a drug. You
Yeah.
can't always stay on a diet. And what's happening is with Ozempic in particular is it's just putting a band-aid on. And I see people make videos about it saved my life, it did this, it did that. Okay, fine. And I'm sure there is a very small group of people that need this drug. It is not meant for everyone. It is not meant for a weight
Yes.
loss treatment. So anyway, doctor started tapering her off. She started getting hungrier again. And there's another gentleman, I know a man too, that this happened to start getting hungrier again,
Yes.
gained the weight back. Starting to
Exactly.
gain the weight back. Panics. The doctor says, well, we're trying to take you off. Now this person is irate, literally threatening the doctor, put me back on the dose. See, that's what it's caused now.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
doctor can't because you can't, you're not meant to stay on it forever. See, she's a binge eater. She doesn't
Okay.
know she's a binge eater or she doesn't admit she's a binge eater. So now you've put a
That's a good point.
band-aid on your binge eating, but you're not dealing with why you're a binge eater.
Why that coping mechanism is there. Exactly.
You're not
And yeah.
dealing with your coping mechanism. You're not dealing with your response to stress. And this is why stress management is like insanely the key.
Of course, and managing depression and anxiety as well. And it's hard when I see a client go for the quick fix and I want to be supportive as possible, but I also want to give them the honest opinion that it's not going to fix everything else, right? Or it's only going to be a fix for maybe like 30 days or 20 days and then everything is going to come back, right? Like, because it's not, again, it's not going to actually fix things. It's going to be a band aid, right?
And I'm guilty of it. Over 15 years ago, I did that. So I get it. I was desperate to lose weight. I took diet pills. Can't stay on the diet pills forever. Those diet pills extremely restricted my food intake. I was like not hungry. And is it healthy not to eat at all?
Mm-hmm.
No, your body needs fuel. It needs calories. It needs the nutrition from the food to function. Your organs that we don't
Yes.
see that are underneath the skin needs whole foods. So that was
Yeah.
a terrible approach. I lost a ton of weight very fast, but guess what? Eventually I had to stop taking them. And you guessed it, the weight all came back plus, plus, plus. So
And I think that's where it's like the quick fixes tend to create that constant disappointment cycle and then it all starts again, right?
So we'll go over now the habit loop.
Yeah.
And if you can understand the habit loop, you can make some serious changes in your life today.
Hmm.
Okay. So the habit loop has 4 phases: the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward.
Yeah.
and you want to highly focus on your response. So the cue is something that triggers your brain to go on autopilot. That's why we end up in the pantry eating out of the chip bag, and we don't even know how we got there or why we got there. It's just like, have you ever driven home and wondered, how did I get here?
Oh my gosh, yeah, exactly. It's the
There's
automatic
no
response.
there's no awareness, there's no thinking. You're just on autopilot, and so you don't even know why you're eating. Okay. So something triggered you, stress, big one. Sometimes just walking into the kitchen triggers you. Oh, I'm in the kitchen. I better eat something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or with Easter coming up, you'll have the Easter bunny chocolate on your counter, and I'll just take a piece. We don't think, we're not thinking, mindfulness, awareness, right?
Yeah,
So that's the cue. The craving is you're anticipating something good. You're anticipating the reward that's coming after. You're getting ready for the dopamine, right? So you're like, ooh, I'll eat chocolate. That tastes good. It's delicious, or okay. And then you've got the response, which is very important. It's the action you take. So you eat. We do this with scrolling.
oh yeah.
We do this with skipping our workout, skipping our movement. Oh, I don't feel like it, so I won't do it. And then comes a reward. You feel good. Oh, I get to relax. I don't have to. But that's so temporary.
Yes,
So the dopamine comes in, and it tells your brain, hey, that worked. Let's keep doing that.
exactly. And the dopamine is what results in maybe an addictive behavior or that constant, like, cycle to continue, right?
Yeah. This is a problem even alcoholics have.
Mhm. Yeah,
Any substance abuse has this same habit loop that they are
exactly.
stuck on. A lot of people who drink a lot of alcohol, they do it because they can't sleep. I can't sleep, so I got to get drunk so I can sleep. When it comes to eating, I got to eat a lot so I can be full.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, in a way, like when you recognize this habit loop, and you trying to put it consciously into your, like, into the forefront, then you can at least do change, right? Like,
Make serious, serious change. And change is hard. Okay. Nobody is saying it's easy. It is hard because we have this part of our brain called the amygdala that resists change all the time. It wants to stay comfortable. But you also have to approach your amygdala with calmness. This is why the instant urge to change or the quick fixes drives your nervous system out of whack and
for sure.
creates overeating, binge eating, behaviors that you don't want to participate in or that you would not normally do. So you have to, back to what we talked about in our last episode, self compassion. You have to approach it out of curiosity. Get to know yourself on this journey. Get to know who you are. When I lost my weight for the last time, it's because I really got to know who Melissa is.
Mhm.
What foods give Melissa energy? Which ones take it away? So you no longer have a good or bad food list. You have, hey, when I eat this, I feel like crap. When I
Yeah.
eat this, I feel really good and energized. So when you become aware of that, you start wanting more and more of the foods that make you feel good naturally. But the junk food that makes us feel good temporarily on this habit loop that we just discussed, that's where that's where it comes from, right? It's where it falls.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, these are all important things to consider because I think in reviewing the parts of the brain, we're also reminding ourselves that, to go from a self-compassionate perspective, that, we can change how the brain is working, but we know that the brain is doing this for a reason, right? This was part of survival at one point, you know?
So, what do you do when you have a client you're working with that's on a quick fix or that wants to have a quick fix?
So I recognize the why. So the why is it that you want that quick fix? And many of the reasons I've gotten is either that, that quick fix works temporarily and they feel good and then they feel like recharged and that dopamine hit happens. And then for some people, they just are in a level of confusion. They're like, I'm just going for it because I don't know what other options I have.
That's good that you brought that up.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. But knowing the why is the most important part because that is where, you also try to get a sense of like what is causing this person to go for the quick fix. Another thing I should add is that these people also have a lot of family members in their background who have done the quick fix and they've seen the fails. They've seen the quick fix being a quick fix, and then they recognize that their parents and family have gone through the exact same thing. And they're kind of like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to actually find something permanent that will work.
Yeah, I have a returning client that we worked with for 6 months, and while about 4 months in, she lost 17 pounds, by the way, in a 6 month period, which is extremely healthy pace of weight loss. But she kept bringing up her sister-in-law who's on the Dukin diet, and oh my God, she lost 20 pounds in X amount of time, and she kept wanting my approval to say, yeah, let's try it. Let's go ahead. And her plan was immediately to renew with me immediately after the 6 month, but she told me that maybe later in the year, whatever. And I didn't hear from her for a long while. And she came back to me and told me that, she went on to try the Dukin diet. She
Yeah.
did lose a little bit more weight. She only had a goal of maybe 12 more pounds after that, but she lost it all. But, she couldn't maintain to eat the foods from her culture, the stuff she loved, and she was
Yeah.
miserable. And that last 12 pounds, so she gained 20 back after stopping it. And then she came to me, and now we've lost that, and now we're on a maintenance type of thing. And I'm teaching her how to maintain, which is, spoiler alert, the way you lost the weight is the way you maintain it. Okay?
Exactly.
You are leaving behind your old self.
Yep, that sounds about right.
You have to make permanent change, just like anything else in life. You can't just do something. I hear this all the time. I've actually had someone on TikTok message me that, you wouldn't approve of this, but I'm just gonna go ask my doctor for Ozempic until I lose, 30 pounds.
Okay. It's funny because like I've had so many clients that have gone on Ozempic, but then they realize Ozempic doesn't get rid of like the rumination of food in their head.
Not only that, people need to strongly look into the side effects that some people are experiencing. And I'm not going to get into that here, but you should go look into it. Look at videos, search up
Yeah.
videos of people who have been on Ozempic and some impacts that they've had. Because listen, it
Yeah.
is never, never worth your health. And some side effects like bone loss,
Yeah.
you can't ever get that back.
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot, you're setting yourself up for a rough old age.
Yeah. But also too, it's like to keep in mind to the listeners that if you think a quick fix is good and dandy, think this critical question. Where is my money going to? Is it going to this company that doesn't give a crap about me after this quick fix doesn't work? Is it going to a pharmaceutical company that just wants me to take this drug?
Uh-huh.
So that is one of the things to keep in mind, right? Like there is that rational side to things that this quick fix may not be the ultimate solution, right? So,
That's right. Yep. Yep. So let's touch on a bit of, Easter dinner. We want to help you with some strategies and ways that you can navigate through this period of time. And it's very similar to Christmas, right? We shared some things around the Christmas dinners. The most common patterns around holidays, so the things you don't want to do, these are what people do, is they restrict leading up
yes.
to the meal. So I've had family members that have arrived at the dinner and said, I'm starving. I haven't had anything to eat at all,
Yeah.
So that's not healthy to overfeed your body. Like it's not used to eating all day. And then all of a sudden you overload it with a bunch of food. Your body has to digest all of that. And that's why you
Yes.
get extremely tired after you do something like that, because your body is working in the background. So restricting leading up to the meals, then you overeat because you have this is the last supper. Like it's a big dinner that you don't usually have. And it's like, you're acting like you're never going to eat again. So to navigate that, I tell all my clients to bring a Tupperware with you. You don't have to try everything. Make yourself a meal for tomorrow of the things you didn't have at the
Yeah.
dinner, right?
And it's a compliment to the host too, so might as well.
So then the ones that overeat, they say, It's okay. They feel guilty, but out loud they say, oh, it's okay. I'll start over on Monday. Stop saying you're going to start over
Yeah,
on Monday.
exactly. Because that leads to the guilt.
Yes, the quick fixes around the holidays backfires each and every single time.
Yeah.
So, to reframe all of that, do you want to go over the reframing?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, number one, like, don't have a moral value on food. There is no good or bad food. Number two, using a magic plate as a tool, not a rule, of course. Right. And we have some episodes that discuss the magic plate. So I would definitely say, like, I encourage you to go back to previous episodes. And then the other thing is honoring your hunger and fullness cues. That is a huge one because that's the thing we often forget in, like, a holiday dinner, right? Like, we often hyper focus on what we're doing that we actually don't become conscious of our body. Thus, we don't become conscious of the fullness cue. So I definitely encourage you to take that mindfulness approach to checking in and seeing what does fullness mean for me, right? And the other thing is enjoy this cultural or traditional experience with your family without shame. There's a reason why Easter is such an important holiday for a lot of people, but when I see a lot of clients during this time, they tell me that they want to enjoy the holiday without feeling guilt and shame. They want to actually, take part in the experience with their kids or their grandkids or, their family members. So, that's where this is all important, like, and part of how to approach the holiday season coming up.
Yeah. And I'll add to the fullness. So there's a difference between content and full.
Yes. And
Okay. So
uncomfortable
content,
fullness.
you'll start to feel a little bit of pressure in the belly area, and that's a sign that you should maybe pause and put your fork down and wait 20 minutes to see. Don't continue eating just because the food is good or you don't want to waste.
Yes.
You don't, doesn't matter. Okay. When you're content,
Yeah.
you're content. So there's content and there's full. Usually if you're full, you overdid it a little bit. And then if you're like sickening full, then you you overate. Okay.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of like clients I meet, they tend to get into like the a really uncomfortable full,
Yeah.
and they become almost overwhelmed with that feeling, and they go like, "I can't shake this off." Like, and I
And you
go
know
like,
why that uncomfortable fullness also occurs? Because you're not being mindful. You're busy
yes,
while you're eating, you know?
yes,
And yes, you can chat with people that you're sitting at the table with, but put the fork down, talk. Don't
yes,
talk and eat and talk and eat and so and just
exactly.
realize that change does take time and learn from each mistake you think you made. I'm doing air
Yes,
quotes. So, say you have Easter dinner and you're like, oh gosh, I overate again. Use that as a lesson for the next time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just take these tips and apply them, and if they don't stick the first time, just continue. That's okay.
Yeah. So, the three pillars of sustainable health are gentle nutrition, flexibility, not restriction.
Yeah,
Two, mindful eating practices. That means, tasting your food, feeling aware, being grateful for what you're eating. And three, emotional resilience, tools for stress and emotional eating. And yeah,
how
that
to make
is,
sure. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and how to make sure that, you're not using food to cope with emotion.
Yeah. And Rebecca and I have had a group in the past for like a binge eating support group, and we may run that again. So that's really nice to have community and be with other people that are struggling with the same thing so that you can share support and ideas and what's working, what's not. It's good. You want to normalize the messy middle of change because it's not linear, right? It goes up and down, steps back, but you take steps forward. The most important part is that you continue working towards it. And I'll share something else. Some people think that once you lose the weight, your work is done. Well, no, there's work in maintenance too. You're
Yes.
maintaining a lifestyle.
Yes.
I'm working on myself every day. I always want to be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And I think that's where, like, for people, like, they need to keep that in mind that anything that kind of advertises as you have to do this for only for 30 days and you're done, like, that's not realistic to life.
No. And a big workout that was out for a long time that was very popular was a 21-day fix.
Oh
So
man,
people were
yes,
working out for 21 days straight, and even they had a second schedule where you had two workouts a day.
yes.
And who has the time for that?
Not a lot of people,
We
I can tell you
don't.
that.
It's important to stay active. And on the subject of staying active, don't just do your workout and be a couch potato for the rest of the day. I understand that many people work at a desk. I also work at a desk. I coach over video in 97% of my clients. You have to be mindful to get up, even if you have a 10-minute window. Go
Yes,
for a quick walk. If you can't go walk outside, treadmill, walking pad. If you're on one floor of your house, go to the other. Have reasons to get up off the desk. And the best way to start is to set reminders on your
yes.
phone or in your calendar.
I'm gonna say Apple
Schedule it.
Watch.
You have to schedule it. I will literally, between clients, have walk. So I have a meeting at noon, but at 1, I have a 30-minute walk block.
That's awesome.
And I treat it like an appointment to myself. If I have to make a call, if I want to call a family member, if I want to listen to a podcast, I will do it as I walk instead. If I have to edit a video, sometimes I'm doing
Yeah.
that. I don't like to do that, but sometimes I do,
I don't know how you could
too.
do
But
that. I like I applaud you for that.
I mean, not on the treadmill. I've almost fell once.
Oh my god. Well, I could say this that, like getting up and moving even for like a few minutes, like is always a good habit to form, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I record content while walking too. I mean, people in my neighborhood, they see me. I don't care. You gotta stop caring what people think.
Amen to that.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with
habit
that.
stack. Habit stacking. All right. So the takeaways from today's episodes are that quick fixes create more problems for you. True change is rooted in compassion and consistency.
Yes.
Compassion and consistency. Okay. So I want you to think about when you're chasing the quick fixes, what Rebecca talked about. What is your why? Think about your why. Okay. And we
Yeah.
have, free resources for you. I have my plate building guide that I give to my community, and I have a free training on it too, if you don't want, so that you can have a better understanding. And yeah.
And also like I will have like the hunger fullness cue like diagram as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I invite you for this upcoming Easter to incorporate some of the tips we shared and see how that makes a difference in your stress levels and also in this holiday dinner as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that, we thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.